All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to the Wednesday. It is Wednesday, right? Wednesday edition of the Daily Dirty 30 here on the Kevin Lee Show. I am your host, Kevin. And for those of you who do not know what this show is about, is Monday through Friday at 9 p.m., I spend 30 minutes telling you exactly about all the things that bothered me today. So what do I get out of it? Therapy. And you? Well, hopefully entertainment. So let's get right to it. Because we all actually only do have 30 minutes for this show. We will shut it down at 30 minutes no matter what, come hell or high water. Today should actually be pretty simple in the sense that more or less all I'm going to be talking about is a single subject. And that's going to be Black Lives Matter. Sorry, I'm getting so excited I'm talking too fast. Now you're probably wondering yourself, well, how can you complain about Black Lives Matter? And that's kind of the trick. I'm actually not complaining about Black Lives Matter. I believe Black Lives Matter, and I'm completely for the sentiment. I'm completely for the movement. It's long overdue. I'm totally fine with that aspect of it. What I'm not fine with is the organization in which is, I want to say behind it, because really there's so much more behind it now than just this one organization. But the organization that's getting credit that goes by the same name called Black Lives Matter. It is an organization that is far more political than they are searching for equality. They're not looking to bring everyone up. They're looking to bring others down. I know that's kind of a strong statement, but hopefully after 30 minutes you will agree with what I have to say. So, in fact, I'm not even doing most of the talking today. I'll be doing some of the talking, but not all the talking. Sorry. I feel like I'm forgetting to do something. I apologize. Where am I going? So I'm going to start with, let's get right to it. Let's go right to the Black Lives Matter webpage. And we're going to go right to their, I don't know, I guess it's called the What We Believe section. So it's kind of like their About section. It's called What We Believe. Hopefully this works when I program this correctly. Hey, look at that, it does. Okay, so. Okay. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger. That'll work. That way everyone can see it. All right, so we're going to start here, and it's going to say, where are we at here? So it's going to give you a brief history of the Black Lives Matter organization. And if you read just the first few paragraphs, it sounds like an absolutely wonderful... Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. It sounds like an absolutely wonderful organization in the sense that, why they were formed, who formed them, that it's this organic, global, if you will, organization that doesn't necessarily have a one leader type thing or one group that's leading everything. I have no idea why this is doing this. All right, it's back on. Okay, anyways. I don't want to stop right now. We're already 4 minutes in. So it talks basically about how, how it began, how people were enraged by the death of Trayvon Martin and the subsequent acquittal of his killer, George Zimmerman. And I think most people are familiar with that story, at least most people who are above the age of 20, at least, maybe even younger. Talks about Ferguson here. And there's obviously lots of reasons that an organization like this could start. Black lives have mattered for a long time, and I think many people believe that, but unfortunately not enough people were supporting it. And because of that, people didn't feel heard. So people, did certain things and acted out in certain ways so they would be heard. Well, needless to say, it had somewhat of an effect, and even right now it's having an effect. But more importantly, we're back to this organization. So Black Lives Matter is a global network. We've already discussed that. They commit themselves to healing ourselves and each other, and to co-creating alongside comrades, allies, and family, a culture where each person feels seen, heard, and supported. Now we should focus on this word here, right, where it says, I don't know why it's not, there we go, comrades. There's a reason why they chose that word, and you'll see why in a few minutes. But it's actually rather alarming when you think about it. This is supposed to be a movement to support and to finally reach equality for all black people, right? But why would they use comrades? It's kind of odd. And again, they go on to say stuff like, we acknowledge, respect, and celebrate differences and commonalities. You know, there's a lot of good things in here because, well, it was written in that way for that reason. But if you go down just a few more paragraphs, you know, it'll start turning quite quickly. It'll say, we are self-reflexive and do the work required to dismantle cisgender privilege. So I'm not sure what dismantling cisgender privilege has to do with the black community. Now, that being said, if you may not even know what the word cisgender is, and that's basically people who are, say, born a man and they're attracted to women, or women who are born women and attracted to men, you are now cisgender. So now they're labeling these groups of people who are, you know, I suppose it would be, you would basically call somebody, quote unquote, straight, who is cisgender, right? But they want to dismantle cisgender privilege. How do people who follow their natural biological urges, how is that a privilege? Don't know. Okay, moving on. It talks about we build a safe space that affirms black women and is free from sexism, misogyny, and environments in which men are centered. Well, that's kind of another odd sentence there, right? Because isn't this about all black people? And that's why Black Lives Matters, because we have to raise up all black women, all black men, all black children, right? So what does this singling out black women have to do with anything? There's nowhere here where it singles out black men. That's interesting. And then we're going to get in here to where it says they want to dismantle the patriarchal practice. What in God's name is a patriarchal practice? Oh, that's right, men. They want to dismantle the male practice of being in power. That's what they want to do. So again, talking about comrades, talking about wanting to dismantle cisgender privilege. We're talking about dismantling the patriarchal system. Okay? This doesn't really necessarily sound like it's Black Lives Matter, does it? You know why? Because it's not. It's a political system. And if you read through the rest of it, there's even more. It has far more to do with transgenderism and LGBTQ than it does with the Black Lives Matter movement, or the actual movement itself. Don't believe me? Well, we're going to have fun here. In 1 second, I'm going to just get this set up. So this is actually going to be a very short snippet. It's just a snippet of an interview that was done with one of the co-founders of the actual Black Lives Matter organization. Okay? What we were just reading. Now, I want you to listen to this very carefully. Okay? Yeah, it's a good one. Oh, let me switch back over. Hold on. All right.
Do you respond to that particular critique? Again, a loving critique from an elder of the struggle that some others share, that I've even shared as well, to be frank, is a concern about, in part because of the co-optation and the appropriation, that a more clear ideological structuring might be of some value here. But how do you respond to those kinds of, again, loving criticisms?
I think that the criticism is helpful. I also think that it might, I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories.
Okay, did you hear that? She admitted right there that not only do they have this ideological ideas of, socialism, but actual Marxism. Now, if you don't know the difference, I'm not going to go into it right now because we do not have the time. But please, just do a simple Google search. Look up the difference between socialism and Marxism. Completely different things. These people are not only have an ideology of of Marxism, they actually are trained, which means they are sent out into the world to convert people to Marxism. Okay? It's a very dangerous thing. Very dangerous indeed. All right, so next we're going to jump forward here to one of the allies of the Black Lives Matter organization. This happens to be a U.S. representative. Her name is Ilhan Omar. And again, this is only a 27-second video, so it's not going to take very long to watch, but it's imperative that we do. So, hold on. Let's jump over here. All right. And go.
As long as our economy and political systems prioritize profit without considering who is profiting, who is being shut out, we will perpetuate this inequality. So we cannot stop at criminal justice system. We must begin the work of dismantling the whole system of oppression wherever we find it.
Okay, not sure if you caught it there, but she's speaking about dismantling the entire system. The entire system would include not only our economy and our economic system, but our political system, the one she's actually involved in. And we know this because she has spoken about it many times elsewhere, about the belief that we need to dismantle this system, because she herself is, surprise, surprise, a Marxist. Okay, so bringing it back to here, let me get the... I wrote it 12 minutes. All right, I got 3 more clips. None of them are very long, but a couple minutes long each, maybe. So I guess we'll just play each one, and then we're going to talk about it just a little bit. So this first clip is going to be by a gentleman whose name is Marcellus Wiley. Because I know a lot of people will be like, well, you only think this way because you're not progressive and you don't believe these things that people are saying, and you know, you're not black and you can't understand. Well, okay, let's take the argument under consideration, and we're going to actually hear from a few black people who happen to disagree with some of these organizers from the Black Lives Matter organization, and from Ilhan Omar, and from a lot of other people. So let's listen to it. Actually, okay, this one's, we'll listen to this whole one, and it'll just take a second, and we're going to get there. And all right, ready?
I don't know how many people really look into the mission statement of Black Lives Matter, but I did. And when you look into it, there's a couple things that jump out to me. And I'm a black man who's been black, and my life has mattered since 1974. And this organization was founded in 2013. I'm proud of you. But I've been fighting this fight for me and for others a lot longer. 2 things. My family structure is so vital, important to me. Not only the one I grew up in, but the one I'm trying to create right now. Being a father and a husband, that's my mission in life right now. How do I reconcile that, what I just told you, with this mission statement that says, quote, we dismantle the patriarchal practice. We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement. When I know statistics, when I know my reality, forget statistics. I knew this before I even went to Columbia and saw these same statistics that I'm going to read to you right now. That children from single-parent homes versus 2-parent homes. The children from the single-parent homes, this is in 1995 I was reading this. 5 times more likely to commit suicide. 6 times more likely to be in poverty. 9 times more likely to drop out of high school. 10 times more likely to abuse chemical substances. 14 times more likely to commit rape. 20 times more likely to end up in prison. And 32 times more likely to run away from home. I knew that. You know why I knew it? Because a lot of my friends didn't have family structures that were nuclear like mine, and they found themselves outside of their dreams and goals and aspirations. So when I see that, or as a mission statement for Black Lives Matter, it makes me scratch my head. When I also see their mission is to eradicate white supremacy. In 2020, white supremacy is the mission. Woo, that's a lot of digging through minutia right there. I am on a show that I'm hosting along with another black guy who is hosting with me, who replaced another black guy. And that's just one example of it. So I understand, I respect your space. I respect what you're protesting for. But will you respect others who don't support that same protest?
Okay, so what do you have that you have to argue there? Is there anything you have to argue there? Because frankly, I don't see what you could have to argue there. You know why? Because there isn't much to argue with. He was basically saying the same thing that I was saying, but he was saying more eloquently. He had put in more effort to study it, and he has more life experience with this, right? That being said, that's one example. Now we are going to quickly jump over. I don't know why it keeps disconnecting. I'm sorry. Technical. How can I go one day without technical difficulties? Now my iPad won't even stay attached to the internet. I don't get it. Anyways, so now we're going to jump over to a situation. Now, I want to point out that these are not old videos. These are not old interviews. These are things that happened within the last week. In fact, I think they're all within the last 2 or 3 days. Okay. So that one was Marcellus Wiley. This is now going to be actor and former athlete and current activist, actor Terry Crews. You probably remember from, was it Brooklyn Nine-Nine? I think that's the show he's on currently, or has been on currently. Yeah, so we're going to get to that. Sorry. I don't know why it keeps doing that. It's so bothersome. All right, so we're going to hop into this. Think I'm at where I want to be. Yeah, okay, because I didn't want to start the whole interview because I don't need to hear introductions and waste several minutes of our time for things that aren't important. So we're going to start right here, and we're going to see what happens, eh? Oh, no. Hate when it does stuff like that. Here, close out of this. All right.
Checks and balances. In the 60s and 70s, airplanes went down all the time. And the reason they found out why they did was because the pilots could never be questioned. And when you have the leaders of the Black Lives Movement who are now talking about, if we don't get our demands, we're going to burn it down. Other Black people who are talking about working with other whites and other races, they're being viewed as sellouts or called Uncle Toms. You start to understand that you are now, being controlled. You're not being treated as loved. You're actually being controlled. Someone wants to control the narrative. And I viewed it as a very, very dangerous self-righteousness that was developing that really viewed themselves as better. It was almost a supremacist move.
Let me jump in,
where
Terry.
they viewed that their Black lives mattered a lot more than mine.
Okay, so let me jump in here. There's a lot.
Continue to watch this. I didn't actually see all this.
You think if Black Lives Matter is, you said you think it's an extreme movement? Because it's now part of the...
No, this is the thing. It's a great mantra. It's a true mantra. Black lives do matter. But when you're talking about an organization, you're talking about the leaders, you're talking about the people who are responsible for putting these things together.
I got you.
See, now isn't that interesting how he wouldn't even let him finish? He was trying to make a point, but, because it doesn't fit their agenda, people at CNN, people like Don Lemon, it's interesting that he just cuts him off instead of letting him get his point across, because now he wants to interject with something that's going to sound contradicting. That's going to sound like, well, you just don't understand or you seem naive. That's what happens when you go on these television shows. But anyways, you heard the point. You heard what Terry Crews had to say. It's not about the movement. It's not about the sentiment. It's not about these people. It's about the organization. The organization itself is not something we should hold up high. It's not something that we should be putting millions upon millions upon millions of dollars of donations into. Yet we still do that because people don't know better, because they want to do good. They want to reach out. They want to help. And they say, hey, there's this Black Lives Matter organization. We should support them because they're going to help all these other people. But they don't. Perfect example. During the whole Minneapolis riots when they first started, within like a week, not even like 5 days, they raised, through Black Lives Matter, what was it? $35 million. And a lot of this money was raised to help people, bail them out of jail, things like that. Medical bills, anything that might be arising from these protests and these riots. Well, the initial report after a week after they collected all this money, so an additional week, was that they paid out about $200,000 out of $35 million. Not really acceptable. And most people don't understand, too, is that Black Lives Matter is a political arm. Yes, they do take donations, which are tax deductible, but they don't actually organize themselves as a non-for-profit organization. It's a for-profit organization. And they take this money and they redistribute it at their own whim. And do you know where most of this money goes to? Guess. Give you one guess. Don't worry, I'll wait. No, just kidding. It essentially goes to Democratic nominees around the country. You see, the portion of Black Lives Matter that actually handles these donations and distribution is held by an outside company. You know what the name of that company is called? Act Blue. Act Blue is a fundraising arm of the, guess what? The DNC, Democratic National Convention. So every time you're giving money to Black Lives Matter, guess what? It's going to the DNC. It's going to their political allies. That's all you're raising money for. This is a political movement for Black Lives Matter organization. Support people who are in Black Lives Matter in the movement, people who are protesting for it, people who are doing their due diligence to raise awareness and fight for people's rights, 100%. But the organization, no, forget them. All right, so before we get too far, I want to go to one more. And this is going to be, boy, I don't even know where to start here, maybe. Sure, this is a guy named, he's a commentator. He's a sports commentator, I should say. His name is Jason Whitlock, and he is being interviewed by, it looks like Tucker Carlson here on Fox News. And it's interesting what he has to say, because he's speaking of Black Lives Matter, but he's also speaking about it in connection with what's going on in sports and what's going on in football. And his take is actually rather interesting as well. So, yeah. All right, let's get to that one.
Host with the man you just saw on Fox Sports, and we're happy to have him on tonight. Jason, thanks so much for coming on. So,
thank you, Doug.
You are an expert at explaining what's actually happening in professional sports. What do you think this is about, and is it a good idea, do you think?
I think it's really about a lack of leadership and just a failure of men to stand up and stand on the principles that they say they believe in. And so when I look at what the NFL is doing, this goes against every value that the NFL has built itself on. Professional sports have built themselves on a celebration of Americana and the ideals and values that best exemplify America. They built themselves on unity and unifying the country. If the NFL starts out its season with everyone standing for Lift Every Voice and Sing, the Black National Anthem, and then virtually everyone on the field taking a knee when the Star Spangled Banner plays, I think it's going to be, if you remember the show Happy Days, the jump the shark moment when it's like, okay, Happy Days is over, the NFL will run off a nice fat chunk of its audience and will never be seen the same again because of the failure of leadership throughout the NFL. There's no way you can do any homework on Black Lives Matters and not see that it's a Marxist political organization. It's not about black death. It's not about black men. It is a political move. It's a communist political move. If for those people that stand on religious values, and this is where I say just the failure of men, I've seen many of these guys, they claim their Christianity and their religious beliefs. Do they understand Black Lives Matter? Communist Marxism is anti-religious. This is a historic failure of men and leadership. This is cowardice at its highest level. This is the NFL jumping the shark and saying we've quit being who we said we are. We're now something else because our money's on the line and we don't stand for the values we said we stood for.
In one
Wait, we've still got, let's finish this. I'm not sure where we're at here, but let's finish this.
minute, there is an NFL commissioner. Where is he?
Probably hiding under his desk with Troy Vincent, his assistant. We're talking about Roger Goodell.
Yeah.
These guys don't know what to do. And look, I don't want to just blame Roger Goodell and Troy Vincent. This is NFL ownership. All of them. Cowards.
That's right.
Not standing up for what they believe in. America has made them filthy rich and some of the most powerful people on the planet, and they're unwilling to defend the values they built their business on and the country that has enriched them incredibly. Across the board, Tucker, politically, in the sports world, I'm looking at men fall out of cowardice. I'm looking at women fall out of cowardice. It's pervasive throughout this country.
Well, I think that says it pretty well, don't you? Now, I know a lot of people can turn around and say, well, you're just a white guy. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know anything about black people. You don't know anything about their struggle. I don't necessarily. I mean, I understand what the history books say. I know what my friends say. I know what people I know say. I know what I've seen firsthand. I know they've gotten a fairly raw deal, and it's gotten better over the last few years, but I know that, it's still got a ways to go. But that being said, that's why I wanted to show you these other people who actually live these lives, people who grew up in bad neighborhoods, who worked their butts off to get where they're at. And here they are, professional athletes and professional broadcasters and commentators and all these things. And this is what they had to say. They all agree. Black Lives Matter, the movement is wonderful. The sentiment is amazing. It's wonderful that we've brought it to the forefront and that people will hopefully start doing something to fix the remnant things that are still around that need to be adjusted. Absolutely. But the organization, Black Lives Matter, is a political organization. It's nothing more. They have an agenda where they want to take away everything that we hold dear. And I mean that. They want to destroy our political system. They want to reinvent our economy. They want to put us all into a different realm of existence than what we're used to. We're not talking about like making minor changes. We're not talking about, we're not going to, we're all going to get free healthcare and free money and we're all going to be happy. No, they're talking about doing things that are being done in other countries like China and Venezuela and Cuba. Not good existences. It's not something we want. But this is something they're fighting for. And they're doing it right in front of our eyes, and no one sees it because they're doing it with a smile on their face, and they're doing it hiding behind a message. And we have to grow up, stop playing their games, and realize that if we don't want this to happen, we've got to put an end to it now. So we need to back the Black Lives Matter movement, but we need to separate them from the organization that calls themselves the Black Lives Matter because they don't matter. They don't care about anyone but themselves and their agenda. They don't care about doing anything other than accomplishing their goal. And their final goal is to destroy everything that we know and replace it with something that not only will not work, but will destroy us. So on that happy note, happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining me. And I have no idea what I want to talk about tomorrow, but I guess I'll find that out or figure that out after I wake up, right? So until then, guys, you have a wonderful evening or a good day, or depending upon whenever you see this, and we'll see you all tomorrow. All right, bye-bye.